Hey, welcome back, everyone, to the Vikings Playbook podcast. I'm your host, Steve Hoykla, and as always, your Sunday starts here with Vikings Playbook. We got a lot of good topics to go over this week in Vikings football. But guys, don't forget, if you haven't already, check it out. Go subscribe at Vikings Playbook on YouTube. Go ahead and subscribe to my channel. Once we get to 250 subscribers, we have a free Jordan Addison autographed jersey that I'm going to be doing a giveaway for one of those lucky Vikings Playbook subscribers on YouTube. I think we're somewhere around 160, over 160. So we're 90 or less away subscribers from doing the first of many giveaways yet this season of Vikings memorabilia. So whether it be helmets, whether it be jerseys, cards, we got some exciting giveaways. We also got a card break giveaway at the end of this stream. So make sure that you guys stay tuned and you're sticking with us on the podcast tonight. Guys, make sure that you're following us on X. Send your comments. If you're on YouTube, send your comments and questions. I'll answer them best I possibly can, or just get involved in the conversation tonight. So send your comments. If you're following on Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok, and you follow us, that's great. But please make sure that you're following our podcasts and you're making sure that you're joining as a subscriber on YouTube so you can win on some of these giveaways that we're doing. And then also, if you haven't heard or you don't know, I also run a fantasy football podcast that's going to be ramping up here too. So check us out at fantasy15football.com, and then also fantasy15FB on all social media. You can follow us. We'll be ramping up here coming up, and we provide expert fantasy football rankings, waiver wire advice, start sit recommendations, and also fan chat where you can collaborate with other users. And then we also have it exciting, actually, with some other podcasters and fans and followers. We'll actually have a fantasy football league that we're going to be showcasing during the seasons of Fantasy 15. And so you're going to get to see some of the actual live, real dilemmas that maybe we're having and how some of us are doing, many of the podcasters that you follow. So pretty cool stuff. So make sure that you check it out, fantasy15football.com. Exciting stuff coming this season. We're also going to have a full draft kit for you for the 2026 Fantasy 15 football season. So make sure that you check that out and stay tuned for that draft kit to help you with your fantasy football draft. All right, guys. So before we get into this tonight, I want to make sure that, I would be remiss if I didn't already mention it, but make sure that you follow a lot of our great writers over at purpleptsd.com. Check it out. Vikings news daily from great writers such as myself, Brevin Bain, Yannick Eckhart, and, make sure that you guys are checking this stuff out. We have great content that we're providing to you guys all the time. Kyle Judry, good stuff coming over at purpleptsd.com. And then Vikings Playbook is brought to you by our podcast sponsor. That's Badass Wood Art. Go to their website and use code PLAYBOOK to receive 10% off on any products on their website. That's pretty badass. All right. First topic I want to jump into, guys, is going to be Nolan Teasley. So we had his press conference here this last week, and I think that there was a lot of different conversations that people were having as far as the fears of whether or not this was going to be the triangle of authority again. And I think what we heard, both from Mark Wilf and Nolan Teasley, is he's going to be in charge. Nolan Teasley is going to be in charge of the 53-man roster. You did hear, and he clarified, he was asked follow-up questions as well, too. But he was asked, for clarification, who was going to report to who. So Mark Wilf clarified that Nolan Teasley was going to report to the owners and ownership, Ziggy and Mark, and that Kevin O'Connell would also report to the ownership, but that Rob Brzezinski, again, applied for the GM. We were so lucky to be able to retain Rob, and I applaud Rob for seeing what's best. He's a true team dude. He stuck around even though he didn't get the job. He's going to report to Nolan Teasley. So Rob Brzezinski, one of the best in the business, definitely, I think, just a true Viking staffer and probably one of the all-time greats that we've ever had. Uh, it would have been very easy for him to say, I didn't get the job. I'm gone. I'm out of here. I'm going to go somewhere else. I'm going to take my talents elsewhere. He didn't do that. So it was just great to see that kind of come in Mark get those questions asked to him and answered and clarified and kind of calmed the fears that some of us had that, hey, this was going to be another triangle of authority, power struggle. Was Kevin O'Connell going to have too much power? And I think we know now that Nolan Teasley is going to be the GM. He's going to do GM things. He did talk about how he's definitely going to rely on some of the expertise of Kevin O'Connell and Rob Brzezinski, and I think any good GM would do that. Hey, what's up? Those of you in the chat, I see your comments. Norsvia says, "What's up, Steve?" Social Network. We got Brev in the house. Appreciate you guys for jumping in. We got Barbara Fade Up. Says Skoll. Brandon Villeneuve says Nolan built a team that destroyed Kyler Murray, and he's talking about over with Seattle. And I can't remember the exact record, but I want to say Kyler Murray's like 2-7 versus the Seahawks when he was in Arizona. I mean, obviously, with Arizona, he had some dysfunction there too. Kyler Murray did. So some teams were good, some not as good. And again, it depends when you play them. But obviously, Seattle and some of the teams that Nolan had a part of had success against Kyler. That is true. Northfield says probably best that Rob didn't get the job, so O'Clownell and Flo couldn't roll over him. Strong emotions towards KOC. They're from Norse, but I don't know if it would be a rollover job, but I do like that we brought in somebody from the outside where I don't think that our coaches feel like they can, have that power over our current GM. And I think it was good, like I said, that we were able to keep Rob. It was clarified that Rob Brzezinski, because he's part of football operations reports to the GM, that it was clarified that, it's not going to be the triangle. He has a boss, and his boss is Nolan Teasley. So I thought that was really good as well, too. I liked a lot of things that I heard, not only from the owner, Mark Wilf, sorry. But I also liked what I heard from Nolan Teasley, and I think he's going to come in with, he's got that scouting background as well too. He's going to have a lot of big decisions coming up. There's been a lot of talk, especially in social media, and some people with strong opinions that Nolan needs to come in and clean house. Now, a lot of those contracts are coming up, so at least the first order of business that Nolan Teasley is going to have as GM is they're going to start looking at some of those contracts and who they have on staff and maybe who will remain. Now, a lot of times when someone comes in, they don't necessarily, unless there's something glaring, they usually don't come in and just, clean it all out. I expect Nolan there may be some of those decisions, but I do expect Nolan to kind of get a feel for who's good at their job, who's worth keeping, who do we need to replace, or what guys do we need to bring in? And Nolan may have some of those guys, but we have to remember, he's not just going to pluck people from the Seattle Seahawks organization, and he probably can't do that. Could he eventually when contracts expire? Yeah, that could happen, but a lot of the people he had connections because he's been with the Seattle Seahawks for quite some time. He's not going to be able to just bring them over, so people that want to just clean house, you don't just fire individuals that may be good at their job, or bring in somebody just to bring in somebody new. I think you want to bring in somebody that has experience, that is going to be an upgrade over anyone that we do replace in the organization. So that's just something to keep in mind, and making sure that we don't and I think Nolan's gonna take a look at all that stuff. He's gonna get feedback from who's currently on staff, and try to make the best decision for the organization going forward. So I think that's cool. I think that that's going to be interesting to watch as well. Bob Swede's in the house. Appreciate you showing up, Bob. He says Skull. That's awesome. But I want to ask you guys a question. Okay. So some of the questions that I have for you when we move into our next topic is with Nolan Teasley, what are some of the priorities that he should have as a GM? I'm going to talk about some of these. I'm going to run a poll for you guys too. All right. So this should be boom right here. What should Nolan Teasley address first as GM? Now, you can type 1, 2, or 3 in chat to be able to vote on this poll. But I have 3 different options that I put in here, and you can send me some different ones. But as I look at this, Brian O'Neill's contract extension is going to be important. Right now, he's been in street clothes, been on the sideline. We actually saw him this week, kind of get in there and in his street clothes, but he's not wearing his uniform. Obviously, some of this has to do with the fact that he's going to be in his last year of his contract. He wants a new deal, and he's been one of the most reliable offensive linemen and players on this team for a long time since he's been here. So that's absolutely going to be an important thing for us to look at and for Nolan Teasley to look at. So after some of these staffing decisions, he's definitely going to have to do that. Adding rotational edge depth. Okay. I've been a big proponent of this. I know Brev's on here too. And Brev, I'm going to bring up your comments as well. But when I take a look at edge depth, we just don't have a whole lot there. And I'll talk more about that a little bit later too. But adding rotational edge depth is also going to be important because behind Dallas Turner and Andrew Vinkinkle, who was hurt quite a bit last year, he's feeling healthy, looking good now. But still, if one of those guys go down, or even if they just need a breather, you need a good rotational guy in there. We could have, somebody that really kind of steps up through camp, but I would feel a lot better bringing in a solid veteran to come in as a rotational guy, especially if we were to have an injury throughout the season. We freed up some cap room after the Jonathan Allen, Harrison Smith contracts. It kind of gave us, $12+ million here after that June deadline. And I think we should be looking at that. I think we will be looking at that. So adding that rotational edge depth, I think, is important. And then number 3, adding safety depth. We don't know what Harrison Smith's going to do. KOC was talking about it, and he was asked in the media about Harrison Smith, and his answers was talking about how he was in town, he went golfing, but didn't go golfing with KOC. I think I saw pictures. He was golfing with Kyle Slaughter, and he's doing what Harrison Smith should be doing. He's having fun. He's enjoying himself. He hasn't made a decision. I don't think he has to. I don't think he will until it gets a little bit closer to training camp. I still expect him to possibly be on this team. If he doesn't, though, we have to have a backup plan. And some of these guys that are out there that are maybe good fits, how long, and this is something that Nolan's going to have to weigh. And, Kevin O'Connell has that relationship, that special relationship with Harrison Smith too. They're going to have to get a good feel sooner than later because there's not a whole lot of, great options that are out there. If you were going to add somebody, because, hey, if you're going to add somebody at edge, you're going to add somebody maybe at the safety position. How much money do you have to be able to do that? So, one of those things where they're going to have to weigh it and have to go get it. So, who's out there? We could look at Jadeveon Clowney. He's been one that I've been an advocate of. And Social Network, Brev says Teasley needs to get out there and sign Clowney. Traded for him when he was director of pro personnel with Seattle. Great point, Brev. And Clowney's still one of the more efficient edge rushers in the league for cheap. Absolutely. Last year, he played in 13 games and had 8.5 sacks. Jadeveon Clowney is still can be a force in the league, especially if he's getting plenty of rest. A rotational guy, you're not expecting him, to be the starter, but he absolutely can provide a lot a lot of good depth and play for this Minnesota Vikings team yet. So I like Jadeveon Clowney. He played with the Cowboys last year. Um, I think he would be a guy that I would be interested in bringing in on this team. And, that's one of the holes that we need to fill on this team for sure. So that's definitely one of the things. Now, just taking a look at your guys' comments and your votes, Norris Via says 2, not Harrison Smith. So he's saying the edge as well too. Josh Bement says I'd say 3, 1, and then 2. So what Josh is saying is address the safety position first, or try to make sure that you get Harrison Smith back. And Josh, you can clarify that which one you'd prefer with that, but definitely he's saying the safety position, and then hey, we gotta seal up Brian O'Neill, and then we gotta address that edge rotational depth. So thanks for that. Bob Swede says 3. So he's saying we need to address the safety position as well. So right now we're about 50-50 as far as some of the voting goes. Josh, if you because you're saying 3, just go ahead and comment 3. Same thing with you. Third Bloxing King says 3-3. I'm guessing you just mean 3. So make sure you just put in the one number that you're wanting to vote with. Brev says, I'm fine with bringing back Smith. Don't trust the safety room as it stands too much. Yeah, I mean, I'm good with that. I mean, you have that veteran presence. I still think he's got some good football left in him. And yeah, when you take a look at our safety room, again, we're looking at starting our 3rd-round rookie from Miami, Jacoby Thomas. We're looking at, that's a possibility. Jay Ward, or maybe we're looking at Jackson, and you got Metellus. So it depends what type of defense that we're playing, but those are the different guys that we're going to need to come in there and play. Smith needs to retire and come back as a coach. Yeah, I mean, I would love that too if that was a thing, but does he want to do that? I think he loves the game of football. I think that could be a thing for him, but I don't know if he's really, came out and said, "Hey, yeah, I definitely want to pursue that." And I think if he was going to pursue that, or he knew he was going to do that right away, I think he'd be on this coaching staff and trying to do it already here in OTAs into training camp. So it'll be interesting. So just, and maybe he just wants to take some time off from the game and enjoy time just doing whatever he wants to do. That could be the thing too. We'll have to see. Bob Sweet says, I don't think Harry will want to put in the hours those coaches do. Possible. But he's put in quite a few hours as a player. So it really depends. Some people love it. Metellus couldn't cover me is what Norsefius is saying. Hey, I mean, he's catching some rounds and has got some rounds as well too. So, all right, so you guys are kind of split, but I'm also seeing some comments 3. So it's definitely 2 or 3. But let's not forget Brian O'Neill. That's very important to make sure that we address that. I would definitely say that's something that we need to talk about for sure. But also at the safety position, and if we look at edge depth, who are the other names out there? You see some of the pictures I have up. Options could be Leonard Floyd out there too. The thing I don't like about Leonard Floyd, so Leonard Floyd played with the Falcons last year. He played in 15 games. The production just wasn't ideal. He had 3.5 sacks, a pass deflection in there too, no fumble recoveries or forced fumbles or anything like that. You look at Jadeveon Clowney, he only played in 13 games. He had 38 tackles to Leonard Floyd's 19. He had 8.5 sacks compared to Leonard Floyd's 3.5. He had 4 pass deflections, a forced fumble, and 2 fumble recoveries, in 2 less starts than Leonard Floyd. So I like the production that Jadeveon Clowney's still getting. I mean, if you said that, hey, yeah, he could potentially, if he plays, all 17 games, but even if he plays in 13, and you told me that we could get 8.5 sacks out of Jadeveon Clowney and that kind of production that they got out of him with the Cowboys last year, that's not too bad at all. So I'm interested in that. And then, look at some of the options that could be at safety. It could be an individual like, Jordan Poyer is out there. He played for the Bills last year. That could be an option for us. Um, don't know if he's interested in that. Or sorry, I think he played for Pittsburgh last year. So that could be an option for us for sure. Jabril Peppers could be an option that's out there too. So again, there's some different guys out there that could be veterans that we added this team, make us a little bit better going into the season, that would make us feel a little bit more comfortable as well. Any other guys that you guys want to throw out there too for names? Absolutely. Brev says Mattel should never be playing deep safety. No, I mean he's more in the box type guy. That's more his jam for sure. Scotia Network says Joey Bosa. Yeah, I mean Joey Bosa. How much does he have left in the tank? Is a question there for Joey. But that could be a thing. But he's got some questions as far as his health. He's got a lot of seasons where he's been able to not been able to stay healthy. So that would be some of the big questions I would have with Joey Bosa. But yeah, definitely could be an option. That's kind of a high risk, high reward type play if you bring him in. Some to think about for sure. Skull Diesel says, I'm calling it now. Dallas Turner is going to have a breakout year. Yeah, I hope he does. I mean, I think a lot of people are really high on Dallas Turner. He's going into a big year here. He's going into year 3. And, there no Jonathan Gennard. A lot of people are expecting him to be the star. Now we'll have to see if he can get it done. One other thing that I'm sure some of you guys saw, look at this man. Look at this man. This is an interesting one. Tyrion Ingram Dawkins. This is him on the left from last year in his size, playing defensive tackle. On the right, this is him with Dallas Turner. The dude has really slimmed down, and he's working with Dallas Turner. Is he switching to edge? I think he is trying to play edge and maybe fill that depth role. And right now in the 53 roster, I could definitely see Tyrion Ingram Dawkins trying to make this or making this team on the 53. He'll be on the 53, but maybe he's on the 53 as an edge. We've seen weird things, right? We're seeing a former left guard, left tackle type position go to and playing center for us this year with Brandell. He'd never really played the position, and now he's going to be starting for us this year. It's not incredibly crazy. I'd really have to dig in. I should have done that already on Tyrion Ingram Dawkins. I'm not sure if someone could do a quick Google for me, but did Tyrion Ingram Dawkins ever play edge or defensive end in college at all when he was at Georgia? I'm not 100% sure on that. But yeah, so I think that's what's happening. Barbara Fade Up says, yeah, they're switching Tyrion Ingram Dawkins from what I read. That's what I get the sense. Norris says, I'm calling my shot now. Vikings, Notre Dame. We're not quite there, Norris, but I see what you're doing. But you're going to be surprised here, Norris. But anyways, Tyrion Ingram Dawkins. He looks fantastic, man. And he's 280 pounds. So that man does not look 280 pounds, but that's really impressive. Lost a lot of weight. Great shape for this year. So I'll be interested. It's a different type of skill set playing edge. You could be asked to cover as well too. So, how good are those skills to be able to do some of that if he had to? So it'll be interesting. So I do like the fact that Tyrion Ingram Dawkins looks great. He's slimmed up. So even if he's able to play a little bit of both, we got some more depth there too. All right. Let me look at what else I had here. All right. Next thing I want to talk about, guys, is going to be, of course, the big talker that we had here this last week, and that's going to be, of course, JJ McCarthy. McCarthy Gate. Is it real or is it generated? I'm going to throw another poll up for you guys here too, and I'm gonna ask you: are the rumors about JJ McCarthy, and I should have had this already, being disconnected from his teammates and the smoke of him being traded real? Ooh. Disconnected and trade rumors real. So I'm going to give you a yes and a no. You can type yes or no. Actually, I think it's one or two in comments. Yeah, it's one or two in comments. So, yeah, you tell me, one or two, yes or no. What do you think? The rumors, is it real? So there were reports coming out that, and he does good. He puts out good stuff. But Alec Lewis had his article that people were reading into, and some of that he did say that he came out with a tweet talking about JJ McCarthy left early while the other quarterbacks were hanging out, and later on, we find out that JJ McCarthy was actually spending time with teammates. The practice started early or whatever, and so he was taken off early, and obviously some other teammates must have as well. But they were actually going to spend time with each other, and they were going out to go golfing. So, it kind of got blown out of proportion as far as, well, why is he walking off and early from practice, or, right away from practice while some of the quarterbacks are staying back a little bit, hanging out or doing whatever, and he's taken off. So I think a lot of people took that and ran with it, saying that it was more than, what we ended up finding out is he actually had plans with hanging out with teammates. It wasn't, he's trying to stay away from everyone, and that he's trying to be traded. But the other piece of that is also there's a lot of talk, whether that be major media or whether that's, social media, saying that, JJ McCarthy is going to be traded yet this offseason. Of course, the comments he had earlier with the relationship with Kyler Murray. Now, I could put up another poll here too, but are the trade rumors real? Possible, but I mean, what trade value does he have right now? Or what does he have? I don't think a lot right now, because I think more people want to see what he has first. I think if JJ had an opportunity, yeah, Bob Swede says, why trade him now? He's cheap. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, you're not at a loss right now, and at the same time, I will still argue. Oh, he's golfing with Harrison Smith, Brandon. I don't know if I've seen that, but he very well could be. He could have been with Kyle Slaughter and Harrison Smith. Very possible golfing. But anyways, JJ McCarthy, we don't know if Kyler Murray is going to re-sign, whether he has a great year, a bomb year, bust. We don't know. So whether or not, most likely the starter, I mean, let's not kid ourselves. Most likely the starter is probably going to be Kyler Murray. There absolutely is an advantage that he has. He's started 87 games, the veteran presence, everything. We brought him in on a veteran contract. Could JJ look really good? Absolutely. I think if it's close, I would be amazed if Kyler did not start, even if it's close. Because I think Kevin O'Connell, the Vikings staff, I think even new GM Nolan Teasley want to see what they have in Kyler Murray, and we'll see how it plays out. I do think that JJ needs to be ready to be able to play this season. I think he's going to get opportunities. He has to play well, obviously, in the preseason. If he does some of that, yeah, he could have some trade value at the end of the year into next offseason where people see the value, maybe some developmental growth from snaps that he did take. And again, he was just young. He's only taken 10 games that he started in. So, there's a lot of room for growth there. The ceiling is still there. You don't know exactly what you have. There could be teams that are willing to take on that. Now, that doesn't mean that he can't be the starter here either. Again, I said we don't know what's going to happen with Kyler. We don't know how good Kyler is going to be. A lot of questions there too. But if we re-sign Kyler next year, obviously that pretty much green lights, for a possible trade of JJ McCarthy somewhere else. Yeah, absolutely, that could happen. But I think right now it just doesn't make sense yet. I know that Carson Wentz is there, but I don't think it makes sense to make a rash decision like that and trade him away somewhere when you don't have a guaranteed contract quarterback for next season. And let's just say you have a middling type season like we did last year. Yeah, there's some at least big names or hyped up quarterbacks in the draft next year, but now you're not in position to get any of them. So, yeah, that's just something I would say that maybe it's not there, and everyone's voting no on that. Not even a single person saying that trade rumors are real. I'm seeing some twos in chat. Norris Via says, "Who cares about what he has? The Jackals keep pushing the narrative. I'm done listening to all the BS." Yeah, I mean, I just want to see him play. I want to see him throw. I think the thing that we have to keep in mind, guys, is that sometimes, especially in media or even social media, they're going to come up with things because they need things to talk about. They need stories. Okay. So sometimes I think that's all it is people making up, hey, what's going to get people talking? What's going to get some ratings? What can we run with this week? What are some topics we can run with? I truly think that's the case because what steam is there truly? What evidence is there that they're making any kind of calls or trying to trade him? I don't think that there's any right now. Obviously, if you were going to trade him or play him, either way, you would be doing exactly what you're doing right now. And that's making it look like, hey, there's a quarterback competition. He's in it, saying good things about him as much as you can now. The comment, he said the former captain, right? The former captain. That comment that slipped, whether it slipped or not, if he's not the starting quarterback, yeah, he's probably not going to be a captain this year for the team. Possibly not. We'll have to see what happens. I'm not reading into that too much. You got microphones in your face, cameras on you, all the time. Yeah, sometimes something's going to come out, maybe not how you meant it. Yeah, there's a pretty good chance he's probably not going to be a captain. But does that mean that? I don't know. That doesn't mean that he's going to be traded. So yeah, I just want to see him play. So we'll see what happens with that. Yeah, I agree with you guys. I don't think that the trade rumors are real right now. Okay. Rumors about him being disconnected. I could see him irritated and trying to really focus on his craft. Absolutely. Right now there's a lot of pressure on him to play well, to show development. He's got a lot of haters right now. That's tough. That's a lot of pressure. There's pressure on teammates to, because of outside media pressure to take sides. So he's feeling a lot of that pressure, and I think he's trying to tune some of that stuff out and focus on what he can do on the football field. And I think that's a good thing. So I'm not looking too much into that. Again, I want both of these guys to succeed, Kyler Murray and JJ McCarthy. I want the best for the Minnesota Viking organization going forward. And and what's going to get us wins, what's going to get us onto the next level for sure. I mean, you take a look at this guy, JJ McCarthy, and yes, this isn't the huddle, but I mean, he was well liked in the locker room before going into this offseason. I mean, obviously his teammates want him to perform better. He wants to perform better. But JJ McCarthy absolutely is putting in the effort. You're seeing some of the he still has that fast velocity on his football. There's still some things that he's going to need to work on for sure. But you've seen in articles that people have wrote that have been there at OTAs. Alec Lewis mentioned it even in that same article that JJ has thrown passes that looks like he has worked on and maybe fixed some things, especially throwing to his left. So let's see it on the field, right? Let's see that play out instead of maybe some of the made up narratives that maybe you're going to see on social media or just the talking points that maybe major market TV media is going to want to talk about. We're going to hear this all off season about this quarterback competition. So, I mean, I want to hear about the Tyrion Ingram Dawkins, changing positions. I want to hear what he's doing. I want to hear, what's going on at the safety position. Is Jacoby Thomas really ascending, and is he rising to the top already early and looking like he might even play a starter role early? I want to hear that kind of stuff. I want to hear that Dallas Turner is really looking sharp and he looks like, he's really taking a major step here in year 3. Delta Vincent said, did KOC just refer to JJ as the former team captain? So there was like a small slip where he kind of started to say that. And I think people blew that up a lot more than what it needed to be. But yeah, I mean, yes, Dylan. I mean, that's kind of what came out. But I mean, I don't think that he's, trying to foreshadow or that might have just been a slip of the tongue, and that may very well be what happens for sure. But I'm not reading too much into that. I mean, we're not even to training camp. Not even to training camp, guys. So there's going to be a lot of practices, a lot of plays, a lot of evaluating. We still have some of the team practices we're going to have with the Ravens coming up, where you're actually going to see some, hey, how are these guys really doing against live defenders that want to shut you down? Not just the teammates that they're seeing every day and know their tendencies. How are they doing against another team's defenders? That's when I think we're really going to get to see some stuff. Zoe's in the house. Zoe, thanks for joining us. Appreciate that, my guy. Yeah, so don't look too much into it is all I would say. Let's see these guys play on the field. Let's see some of these other stories of, some of these guys that are trying to make the 53. I want to see how second-year guy Zamaya Vaughn's doing. I want to see if he's going to make the team. Is Nudie looking like he's still going to hold down a spot on the 53 roster? Or one of these guys going to come in and take that job? Is Dylan Bell looking like he's the real deal? Is Dylan Bell possibly going to take a slot on this 53 roster? Because if he doesn't, we all know that there's teams that are looking to try to snatch him up. So some to look at, guys. All right. You know what time we're getting ready for. But before you guys get too excited and before you start mentioning teams, a social network, Brev, I know you're in here. Before you guys say teams, it's going to be different this time because we're rolling optic tonight. So there's no college. There's no teams. You're going to name your player. So go ahead and type your player in the chat. And if you end up picking the correct player, you get one player. But if I pull that player in this pack, doesn't matter what player it is. Yeah, it's optic, baby. You could pull, I believe, on here too. So we got like 2015 retro autographs. We got best tutties that could be in here. Possible downtown legends. So these could pull some really big big cards, expensive cards. So we're talking downtowns potentially, guys. So I see one already. So start thinking about your players. Caleb Williams, Northfield, you traitor. I'm just kidding. So Northfield is going Caleb Williams. So go ahead and pick your player. Before we get there, Bob Swede calls Jefferson. So Justin Jefferson is who he calls in here. And again, if you want the card, if it's a base card and you don't want it, tell me you don't want it. But if you got a parallel or especially a valuable parallel, you're getting that card. Compliments of me. So it's free giveaway. Mason Taylor, Jets. Zoe, you got to pick a player, NFL player, not somebody that someone's already picked. You can pick any player. TJ PDX is going Jahmyr Gibbs. All right, so we got Jefferson's off the board. Caleb Williams is off the board. Mason Taylor's off the board. And Jahmyr Gibbs is off the board. Jordan Addison is now off the board. JJ McCarthy is now off the board. Some last calls. Anyone else? All right, we're going to go ahead and pull this. So pulling it live. We always do these card packs. This is the first time I've done optics live. So we'll go ahead and do this real quick for you guys. Again, don't forget, if you're not a subscriber of Vikings Playbook on YouTube, Vikes Playbook, go ahead and do that once we get to 250. I got a Jordan Addison jersey. Autographed. That I'm going to be doing a giveaway. Hold that up in front of the camera. So make sure that you're subscribed, guys. And I have more that I'm planning to give away this season, but we need to get to our first goal, which is 250 subscribers. We're less than 90 away on YouTube. So go ahead and subscribe if you're not already. Set your alerts so you never miss a single beat. All right, guys. The very first player on here, I think you can already see it. Jalen Waddle is the first one. No one had Jalen Waddle. Okay. Next one, I see red. Seeing San Francisco 49ers. Nobody had a Niner on here. Christian McCaffrey comes down. So we went from Jalen Waddle, went to Christian McCaffrey. No one picked either of them. Ooh, we got a parallel here. What do we got? I see a Kansas City Chief. Ooh, on the play action. Xavier Worthy on the play action. I've actually never pulled a play action before. I haven't never pulled this parallel before. And then our very last one that we have is George Kittle. George Kittle. This is a cool parallel, guys. I mean, I know nobody won today. That's a pretty cool parallel there. Xavier Worthy on the play action. I like that one. Very cool. We do this each week. So make sure that you're tuning in each week. At the end of the stream, we'll do some type of pack. Yeah, I mean, if you guys would have picked any of these players, you would have got this card. And, the cool parallel tonight is a Xavier Worthy play action. Very cool card. Love that. All right. Guys, I appreciate it so much, all you guys, for joining me every week and your guys' support. I appreciate it. So make sure that you're hitting that like button. Make sure you're hitting that subscribe button every week. Make sure that you're setting those alerts so you never miss a beat. And as always, guys, this is Vikings Playbook. Your Sunday starts here. I'm Steve, your host. I'll see you next week. Make sure that you're following me, guys. Peace out, Skol, and we'll see you next week.